Hello everybody and welcome to my very first episode ever of CERMIC Firearms. Today we're going to be covering an oldie but a goodie in the form of the Colt Dissipater. Now this is not an actual Colt Dissipater, this is an Anderson lower with a Palmetto upper. And so a little bit of backstory on why I even decided to build this. I have always been fascinated with the Colt Dissipater ever since I first saw it in a history book back in high school. I've always thought that the AR-15 M16 of the early era was an incredibly sexy, incredibly good looking gun. So I bought the Anderson lower, and a little while later, Palmetto upper was presented to me, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to put this together and I'm going to make this childhood dream of mine a reality. And so I did, and so far I've been very happy. But I set myself up a challenge of what would a Colt Dissipater look like if it was done in the late 19th, late 20th, early 21st centuries. Almost screwed that up there. Almost. So unfortunately, this is not the very first video I have made of this. The first video is actually, it was unusable. I used a $100 webcam. I got it off of Amazon, and the video quality was just not there. I was very disappointed with the footage I was getting, so I just decided, you know what, I'm done with that. Unfortunately, that captured the actual creation of this. The firearm is in its final configuration now. That video was going about how I brought it to the final, its final creation as it lays right now. I will be listing that video, but it'll be unlisted. You can find a link to it in the description of the video below if you wish to watch it, but I will warn you, the video quality is not that great. But anyway, moving on. So I do want to show you guys what it looked like before I started working that. And with that, I'm going to use the aid of my Anderson SP1 clone, as it is caught on my chair. So this really illustrates just how sexy these firearms were. These firearms are absolutely gorgeous in my opinion, especially this one because it doesn't even have the forward assist. Anderson, in my opinion, make the best budget-friendly AR-15s on the market. If you're looking for quality for price, look to Anderson. I will say that flat out. If you're looking for budget, go cheap. If you're looking for quality, go expensive. If you're looking for both, get an Anderson. But when I got the Dissipater, it was very much in this form as you see here. It did have a different style foregrip, which I will touch on. It had a Picatinny mounted carry handle, but it did have this buttstock, and it had an A1 style grip. This is actually an SK grip by Magpul, but it does a pretty good job of standing in, and I actually prefer this grip a little bit more. To me, it's a little bit more comfortable. So let's touch on the parts that I removed. Let's start with the foregrip. I call these the corncob foregrip. As you will see, it looks like a corncob. I can't stand these. So when you are making a firearm, you have to choose between one of two things, beauty or function. These have neither. The only thing that these really have over the triangle style foregrip as shown on the SP1 is they have a little bit better texturing on here for gripping. Other than that, these things have no function. There's no M-lock slots in them. There's no place to put anything on them. And to tell the truth, they're just ugly. So you get no utility and you get no beauty. So these things, immediately, when I picked this up, I knew it had to go. Next, let's talk about the carry handle. When it's an integrated carry handle, I think it's fine. This had a Picatinny mounted carry handle. Most firearms that you get nowadays will have a Picatinny up there, and they may come with one of these, they may not. Personally, I think these things are fugly. If you want the iron sights, get an upper that has the integrated carry handle. You can still get them. They're not as common, but you can still get them. And if you want a Picatinny rail, don't even bother with these things. These things suck. I picked this thing up for 20 bucks just to make an illustration, and so be it. Next, let's talk about the pistol grip. This is an A1 style pistol grip. The A2 has a little nub here, and I prefer this over the A1 or over the A2, but it's still not perfect. Now, for those of you guys who don't know me, I have an injured hand. I'm actually missing fingers. I don't know if you can see that right there. I got caught in a grinder, and ever since then, I've really had trouble with my hand, so I need something comfortable to hang on to. While this is better than an A2, it's not as great as the one I put on. Last but not least, we have the buttstock. Now, I don't mind a traditional buttstock like this, but in my opinion, they leave a lot to be desired. They're typically not great as a cheek rest. They typically have a lot of wasted space in here. Like, all of this is empty. There's nothing in here. The buffer tube rides up here. Down here, it's all empty. And you'll see that I corrected that with the other one. Now, there is one advantage of this one over the one I got, and that's that this one has a shorter length of pull. So if you're looking at making this build, keep that in mind. If you're a smaller stature, you may want to keep that style of buttstock. But anyway, without further ado, I present to you my Colt Dissipater clone. Isn't this thing unique? I think it's incredibly sexy. I think it's a thing of beauty, but they always say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So let's start at the front of the gun. This is just a Magpul style foregrip. Now, Magpul, in my opinion, make the best plastic products that you can put on your gun. Now, one thing that I really like about this is that this entire setup costs right around $100, or the furniture costs right around $100. You couldn't spend $100 on a foregrip that was a full float style. Even the Bear Creek, which Bear Creek is a budget brand. We'll touch on them a little bit more here in a bit, but Bear Creek is a budget brand, and those are over $100. So plastic furniture, don't knock it really. It's affordable, and in my opinion, it actually has one great key advantage, and that's that you don't get as much heat bleed through. I've noticed this time and time again as I'm playing with more ARs, and that's that the plastic grips typically tend to stay cooler for longer, whereas the metal ones typically like to transfer the heat over and present its own problem. And pretty soon you're grabbing a foregrip that's a couple hundred degrees, and you're burning your hand. Moving on from the foregrip, we're going to touch on the optic. This is a Bear Creek red dot. It comes with 5 red and 5 green settings, and it came with the mount. Just a little bit closer look up there, you can see. I want you to take a guess at how much I paid for this. Did I pay 100? Did I pay 80? Did I pay 60? I paid 25 bucks for this thing. Now, granted, I got it when it was on sale. I don't know what kind of sale they were having, but it was half off. So typically these things are 50 bucks, and even at the $50 mark, I would say that they are a great option for a rifle red dot. They wouldn't be if they didn't come with the mount, but they do come with the mount, which instantly kind of bumps them up in my book. They're really a great competitor, and they are still a name brand of sorts. So as you can see there, it has the integrated caps that you can take off if you don't like that look. I prefer just to keep them covered because I do tend to have a little bit of a moisture problem. Moving on from there, you can see I have this Magpul MS style pistol grip. Now, one thing that I really like about these things is that it's got this little tang right here. I have slightly bigger hands, so it definitely helps when I'm gripping to have a nice, comfortable grip there. I really like it. Moving on from there, you have the rifle length buttstock. And one thing I really like about this buttstock is it has an integrated little storage compartment there where you can store some tools, maybe some rope, maybe some candy. I know that when I go hunting, I'm probably going to have rope in there for when I grab a deer. That's going to be what I can use to grab it and haul it back with. Sorry for the jump cut here. I just wanted to touch on this, but one of the other things you might run into with the rifle length buttstock on here is a different length of pull. Now, comparing the Magpul length of pull with the traditional style length of pull, you can see that the traditional style is a solid 3/8 of an inch shorter than the Magpul. Now, if you're a larger stature person like me, it ain't that big of a deal. You can scrunch a lot easier than you can stretch. But for a shorter stature person, it might present an issue. I just wanted to touch on that. Now, just to demonstrate what a proper length of pull is, this is the way I was shown on how to determine your length of pull, is to grab your pistol grip, hold it up, and the buttstock should land right in the crook of your elbow. You can see this one's a little short for me, but using my Bear Creek personal one, you can see that this one is set up with the proper length of pull for me. This one has a really huge buttstock on there that helps accommodate my larger frame. Now, bumping it up one position here, you can see that it lands pretty much exactly where the other one is, or at least comparable. And then if I bump it up one more notch, you can see that's probably where the rifle length one is. Now, you can work with your length of pull a little bit. This is still rather comfortable, rather easy for me to handle, even at this really short length, but that is something to consider. If you are a smaller stature person, this buttstock is probably not going to work for you, and you're probably going to want to stick with the traditional style, or you might even just want to skip the Dissipater look with the full-length buttstock and just go to a collapsible style like this so you can set up the proper length of pull for yourself. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So, one other thing I wanted to touch on, the only real gripe that I have on all this furniture that I bought from Magpul is I really don't like they didn't have a QD mount there. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what a QD mount is, it is a quick disconnect for a sling. It looks a little something like this. You can pick them up at most of your sporting goods stores. It would be so easy for them to put a little mount like that in there, and for some reason, they don't. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is. But I do know that you can add one pretty cheap. Now, to add one of these, all you need to do is drill a 3/8 inch hole. Now, you may be lucky enough right there to not have to do any more work, and you can go ahead and you can snap your QD mount in. But for me, and for most of the projects that I've had to do a little bit more work. Typically, what you end up having to do is you have to chamfer the inside of it to be able to make it so that the balls can detach inside and actually grip. Now, the way I've accomplished that is by using a unibit. I swung by AutoZone and I picked up a very cheap unibit for like five or $10. I don't remember how much I paid, but it's not much. I then took it to a bench grinder and I ground down the forward shanks so that I had something to grab onto with my drill. I kind of made my own shank. I then fed it through the backside, running the drill in reverse. I pulled it against the hole and it chamfered the inside of the hole so that eventually I could go and connect. Now, I probably didn't go as deep as I could have. I do have one on my other sling that doesn't detent in like this. But this one works fine. This is the sling that's going to be staying with the firearm. So that'll be happy. To talk about the sling right quick, it's just a Blue Forge gear. This is one of the better slings on the market. You don't need to go as expensive as this. I decided to. That's a whole nother story. So there was one issue that I ran into when I made this, and that is as I continue to get more and more into the firearms industry, I'm finding out that there are a million shades of black. And Anderson's shade of black is more a very, very, very dark gray. It is not a black, it is a gray. Now, I illustrate this by having this magazine in here. On video, it shows up more dark green, but in real life, it is more of a dark gray. I think that might just be the ring light that I'm using because I have it on natural light. It might tinge it green, or it might even be because I have a green background behind me. But as you can see there, that's basically the color it was. So how did I get it black like this? I got it black through a product called Ceramic Coat. Sorry that the camera keeps shaking here. I literally have you sitting on my bed. So I use this product called Ceramic Coat by Wheeler. You can pick this up off of Amazon for right around 40 bucks. I think it was 30 for a little while, but normally it's right around 40 bucks. Now, you might think that's expensive as it sits right there. Oh, wait, it gets worse. These things only come in 4-ounce cans. The typical spray can that you'll pick up from like Walmart or Home Depot is 16 ounces. So, and that spray can costs 10 bucks. This is 40 bucks for 4 ounces or 10 bucks for 16 ounces. So you better believe this better be worth it. And in my opinion, it is. Now, it does have directions for both metal and plastic components. Personally, I would not use this on plastic. I would use just a regular spray paint. But for metal components, I would definitely recommend using this. Now, just going over the instructions right quick. Degrease, clean that whole 9 yards. Spray it, leave it for 30 minutes. Spray it again if you need to. And then after you're done spraying, bring it inside, bring it into your oven, put it at 300 degrees for 30 minutes if it's metal components, or 200 degrees for 2 hours if it's plastic components. But anyway, that's that. So that is the Colt Dissipater in its final form. But you know what they say, the proof is in the pudding. It's time to bring this baby to the range and see how she does. Now, one other thing that I just wanted to touch on right quick, there might be one or two other things that I need to touch on because I keep forgetting. I've recorded this video so many times because my camera's having, or my phone's having problems bringing it out to my computer, and it keeps corrupting the file. And that's that Palmetto actually doesn't have a full-length rifle system in here. Now, I'm going to give it a pass because they did it in the name of reliability. A little bit of history on the Colt Dissipater. It was, for all intents and purposes, like I said, like I believe I said before, the first carbine on the AR-15 M16 platform. Now, I have a theory about why they built these things back in Vietnam, and that's for suppressor use. Now, with suppressor use, it doesn't matter that you're not going to get much of a gas signature from here or much of a gas signal from here because you have a suppressor on putting the gas back in, and you'll recover the gas that you've lost. That would definitely explain it, but to me that doesn't make a whole lot of sense also because suppressor technology, even nowadays, it's not that great on a 223, 5.56. It still produces a very loud crack because the bullet is moving so fast. And suppressors of the 1970s were worse than they are today just by a stint of technology improvements. So I don't know how much credence is in my theory there, but in order to make this firearm reliable, they have added a mid-length gas system. It still shoots really nice. I haven't shot it like in its final form yet, but I did shoot it before I worked on it, and it shot beautifully. There were no hiccups. Anyway, let's take it to the range and let's see how it does. All right, so here we are out on the range. We're in a little secluded area here, and as you can see, the sling setup is working really nice. It still allows me to come up really nice. Unfortunately, me and my buddy, my cameraman here, what is your name again? Is it Timmy? Tommy? My buddy here behind the camera, and unfortunately, it conked out on us, so the red dot is kind of crap, but I have a good Vortex red dot that I'm probably going to put on it when I get home, or I might just leave it for the any occasion that I might need. I do have that low variable optic. But anyway, let's test her up, let's fire her up and see how she goes. Woo! Man, this thing shoots nice. This thing shoots really nice. It's still a little bit more jarring than the full-length rifle version, like my SP1, which we do plan on doing a video on in the future. But anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did like it, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please share with me if there's any guns that I should probably look at in the future. I have probably a year's worth of videos lined up. I'm going to try and do about one video a month here until I really get going. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!